When President Goodluck Jonathan became substantive president, we had hopes that he was a Democrat and that he would practice the philosophy of democracy, and he would engender an atmosphere of free and fair and credible elections so that Nigeria will begin the march to nationhood. And though there were doubts, because he is of the people, is of the PDP, but we were willing to give it an opportunity, seeing that he was from our own region, from my region, and seeing the fact that his ascendancy has been predicated on the concept of luck or serendipity. We were hoping that a man who has received so much grace would understand that it is necessary to give other people the opportunity to serve, particularly in a Nigeria where we're experiencing so many political vacillations and oscillations and prevarications. And we had hoped that he would keep faith with the Nigerian people and he would become the renaissance man of our democratic philosophy. But it has not been so. Given what has happened in the past few days, particularly with the presidential elections, it has become abundantly clear. And I say this with all sense of responsibility, without any ambiguity or equivocation, that the PDP is not capable, has not been capable of creating an atmosphere where there will be free and fair elections. The fact that INEC is not independent makes it impossible for that to be, even though it carries the name Independent National Electoral Commission. But we know that is terminological deceit because they are not independent. I have studied the situation very carefully, and I've come to recognize that what we saw last weekend was a diabolical plot of political mesmerism, creating the impression that we had free elections. But what we have seen is a carefully contrived device that has been scientifically and meticulously executed so as to create the facade or the impression that the elections were free. PDP, realizing how unpopular they are and how unpopular they have been in the past 10 years, had to come up with a device that will give a semblance of credibility. It's important that we're able to identify the difference between veracity and verisimilitude, because what they have done is to create the impression that free and fair elections have been conducted. But if you look at the results and you see how they have targeted certain individuals, it becomes very clear that what the PDP has done is to reenact what they did in the past two elections. And so, those of us who believe in the Nigeria project and who believe that this nation has a future have come to the conclusion that it is not going to be possible for Nigeria to attain greatness as long as the PDP continues to exist in this nation as a political force. And based on all of the observations of the last presidential elections, it's become clear to me, particularly, that the only way forward for Nigeria is an interim government. A government that will be made up of people who are interested in this nation, who have not been politically involved. Men and women of caliber and timber, to mouth the popular cliche. But people who understand that we only have this nation and that we have a common destiny, who have a pan-Nigerian philosophy, who appreciate the whole confederacy of the Nigerian Brotherhood. I believe that is the only way forward. That is why the situation is the way that it is today. And they have done it in such a petty manner, carrying their cynicism and the perversion into their desire to rubbish the opposition and to prosecute a vindictive purposelessness that has achieved absolutely nothing. I want to say it very clearly, without any fear of intimidation, that I reject, and our party rejects, the results announced by INEC. We disagree with those who claim that there were free and fair elections. If PDP won, then Nigeria lost. If PDP won, then you lost. If PDP won, then our children have lost. Then the future is almost gone. But I believe that it is not over yet. I've often said that I believe in divine intervention, and I believe that God is still able to salvage the situation. It is unfortunate that the PDP government has always perpetuated or engendered or precipitated a situation that has led to violence. Now, even though I do not subscribe to violence, but I hold the government responsible for what is going on in the north. I would like to appeal to our friends in the north to please recognize that violence is not the solution. And even though we disagree with what is going on, but there's still a better way. Dialogue will still be a better option. But I want to make it very clear that our friends who are up in the north should not depend on government, because government has shown their inability to protect the Nigerian people. They demonstrated that same negligence in the just crisis. And so there's nobody up there who should be thinking that they are safe and that government will do anything about their situation. At best, there'll be a curfew for a few days and that's it. Seeing the problems that have enveloped the middle belt, government has not done anything concrete or demonstrated any commitment to arresting the situation in that area. And so it's very clear that they are not able. PDP has lost control of Nigeria. They've lost control of governance. And there are many who recognize that the things that I say are truths. But many have been compromised by pecuniary inducement. Others have been silenced by the coercive arm of intimidation, political intimidation. But I want to say very clearly that I will continue to speak my mind, and that no matter the level of overtures that have been made towards me, or pecuniary inducement can ever obliterate the voice of my conscience. I believe that Nigeria is ready for change. I believe that that change is still imminent, and that we are not moved by the things that we are seeing and the clandestine and the surreptitious maneuvers and manipulation of the electoral process. In my view, I say it without malice towards any and charity for all, that President Goodluck Jonathan cannot take Nigeria forward, cannot take Nigeria to the next level. He lacks the necessary credentials. He belongs to what I call the political invertebrata, because he does not have what it takes. And I mean in no disrespect. That is my personal view. And it is an enlightened and an educated view. I believe that Nigeria will be the worse for it if, God forbid, he ever emerges or becomes or metabolizes into the president in the next administration. I am trusting that divine intervention will prevail on Nigeria, and that between now and whenever this government of the PDP will resign, and an interim government will be put in place for the sake of our nation, for the unity of our nation, for the well-being of the Nigerian people. Because what we have seen in the past 12 years of their political hegemony is mendacity and perfidy, broken promises, confusion, all of the squabbles within the party, personal agenda as against that which is nationalistic. We cannot, as the Nigerian people, trust this government. They have shown beyond any doubt that they do not mean well for this nation. And I believe that there are many like me all around the country who know that this is the true position. I would like to encourage all our supporters across the nation not to give up and to remember that we said it from the very beginning, that this government will never engender a level playing field because they are very, very unpopular. They say that they have war against corruption. Yet, in the past 5 years, the accounts of PHCN has not been audited. Nigeria has earned over 34 trillion naira in the past 10 years, and it doesn't reflect in the life of the Nigerian people. Yet they claim that they are popular and that the Nigerian people have voted for them. The hospitals are still in a state of squalor. Our schools have metabolized into some kind of academic jungles. We know that the roads are still death traps. We know that society in itself has become fragmented. We know that our people have been polarized and balkanized like never before. And yet they claim that they are popular enough to win an election. In my mind, I believe that PDP is suffering from delusions of grandeur. They must understand that the time for change has come and that global events testify and indicate that power belongs to the people. And they can continue to oppress the Nigerian people for as long as they think it's possible. But I believe that every institution of oppression has been dismantled by the divine instrumentality. I believe that God has an interest in this land and He is going to establish justice and equity. And that in the near future, our people will be emancipated, because this cannot go on forever. Nigeria cannot endure another 4 years of political ineptitude and a destruction of our economy. The true situation of our economy today is known to those who are within the circle of the nation, the circle that determines what goes on in the banking industry, in the financial industries. I believe that the time has come for us to face up to the truth. And that is why I have come here to tell the Nigerian people that I'm not moved. I am very amused by what I have seen and the results that have been published. To my mind, it's a necessary comic relief from the tedium of the day, because Okotiewww's popularity cannot be debunked. I have stood against the philosophy of the PDP from the very beginning, and probably this is their own way of getting back. But vindictive populousness has never been able to shake the roots of those who believe in the establishment of veracity. And I want to say very clearly that we stand against the PDP vehemently, in a very patriotic spirit. And I want to declare very, as clearly as possible that we reject the results. And I believe that the only way forward is an interim government. Thank you.